You're welcome to my channel. This is Inside Real Estate and I remain your host, Lekon. Today, we want to talk about 5 reasons why your property can be demolished in Lagos State and provide solutions or remedies that can help you avoid such. Are you a property owner in Lagos? Or do you intend buying a property in Lagos but are scared because of the news that has been going around about how the state government has been demolishing properties left, right, and center? Or is your property currently at risk of being demolished? Whatever the case may be, do not worry and do not panic. There is still a way out, and it could still favor you, provided you know exactly what to do. So, it is no secret that Lagos has a plan that by 2052, it wants to be the largest urbanized center in Africa. Okay? It wants to be the best of the best of the best. It's benchmarking itself with cities like Johannesburg, Jakarta, New Mexico, and Sao Paulo. All right. And this is according to the Lagos State Development Plan that aims at achieving a lot between now, for the next 30 years, between now and 2052. So when you see certain things happening, whether from the development side or from the demolition side, it's all in line with that development plan of 2052 and is pushing us in that direction. Having said that, the more you try to urbanize a city or a place, the more standards have to be upheld, standards have to be kept, and things have to be scrutinized properly to ensure sustainable living, to ensure proper living within the built environment. Even though a design or a plot of land or parcels of land can belong to you, the structure you will erect on that parcel is subject to scrutiny. And that is where different regulatory authorities come into place. But for me, just for the sake of this video, the 5 reasons why the state government can demolish a property. The property lacks building approval. In fact, not just building approval, it lacks proper building approval. There are times that some buildings are approved, but they don't have, it's not proper. Maybe a document is missing, a seal is missing, a signature is missing, a stamp is missing there. It might be approved, but it's not properly approved. So you need everything to be thoroughly, properly approved. When we say approval, what are we referring to? We are simply referring to the fact that you have or you go through the process of ensuring that you obtain your building permit. What is this building permit? The building permit is simply the authorization you receive from the appropriate quarters, certifying you to carry on with your development. And your development must maintain standards. It must ensure that it's not a threat to human life. It must adhere to all building regulations and codes, and it must make sure that it is fit for use. That is pretty much what the permit is. It's just a document that gives you authority to proceed with work on site. Now, I know that somebody will say, but me, I don't have that, or I didn't do this. I know. See, and that is the reason why many people go through demolition challenges or threats, because what you are supposed to do, you did not do it. And it's very important and imperative that you get proper approvals for everything you are doing within Lagos State. Understand this. The reason Lagos is putting and enforcing most of these policies and these laws is because of the plan it has for 2052. If Lagos didn't have an agenda, anything could just go anywhere, anyhow. But because it's working with a vision, it has to enforce certain things. I need us to understand that. Okay? So, get your authorization or get your building permit. Now, there is a step and a process to getting the building permit. Number 1, you submit your survey plan with your title documents, all right? You give them the copies, all right? After you've done that, then you submit your architectural drawings, your structural drawings, your mechanical and engineering drawings. That's what we're referring to. Okay, you submit those as well. Then once you've done that, you submit your application and pay the necessary fees, all right, the charges or the fees that have been required of you to pay for that approval. Once that is done, the inspector will come to inspect the site, All right, they will have an inspection, and if it passes the field inspection and every other condition has been met, you get your approval, you'll be issued your permit. And once you have been given your permit, a final inspection will happen on your site. In fact, regular and periodic inspections will begin to follow after them. And obviously, the moment you received your permit, you can go ahead and proceed with site work. Okay, so understand that you need building approval, whether you are constructing a building, whether you are modifying something, or you are renovating. Most people only think it's restricted to just construction when you are just building something from scratch. But we fail to realize that it also includes renovation and even remodeling. Now, I've seen people whose property was marked or was even demolished halfway because what they gained approval for is not what the inspector now saw on site. They might have gotten approval for one floor, but the landlord went to make it 3 floors and he doesn't have approval for the other 2 floors. And so when the government comes, they will remove the 2 floors and leave exactly what you have been approved to have. In order to avoid such action, then there are remedies you take, which you'll be getting to know sooner or later or during the course of this video. It is essential to obtain approval from the government or from the relevant authority so that your work is not disturbed in any way or distressed in any way. Now, for many people whose properties are being affected one way or another, there is a huge chance that there is no approval or proper approval for it. The second reason why a property can be demolished is that there is an encroachment on public land or government land. Now, hope you know that there is a master plan for the urban centers. I've said this before, Lagos has a master plan. And in that urban plan, there are some places that have been earmarked for roads, they've been earmarked for amusement parks, they've been earmarked for public institutions, could be a hospital, could be a police station or something for public use generally, and those lands belong to government. Even for housing developments owned by the government, there are many reasons or many places that have been earmarked for such within the state. Now, if you do not know and you go and buy one of those places or somebody sold those land to you and it falls into that place and you erect your structure, when the government begins its demolition exercise, it will definitely affect you. I always advise people before you go ahead with a purchase. This is another reason why I encourage you to watch my video on how to properly buy land in Lagos State. I always advise go through a surveyor, do your due diligence. Okay, it's not enough to just say, okay, you like the land and it's in a strategic place, and then you look at the documents, you take a lawyer. Not all lawyers know these things. Get a surveyor to help you find out if that place falls under government land or it's free for occupation. Another reason is the non-compliance or adherence to building codes and building regulation. See, that simple house, staircase, window, or whatever it is you are erecting or you are designing have serious consequences and repercussions. I said this earlier, you have been given approval for 1 floor, or you've been given approval to just build a duplex or a block of flats within a plot of land. You ended up building 3 blocks of flats within that same plot of land. You see that is a problem. The government will definitely flag 2 of those 3 buildings. When I talk about building codes and regulations, what I'm simply referring to is the fact that there are certain standards that your property must uphold. For instance, it must have accessibility, proper accessibility, staircase, exits, and so on and so forth. It must have, it must adhere to fire safety codes. You understand? There are buildings that must have fire extinguishers in them, right? Especially multi-tenanted buildings. It must be eco-friendly. It must meet the structural integrity test in order to prevent collapse on people. Now, these are reasons why a property can be pulled down if it doesn't meet or adhere to those standards. We've seen people build houses without exits, fire exits, no escape, no back door, nothing. So what happens in the event of a hazard or in the event of an emergency? This is another reason, and we need to take it seriously, especially for those of us who are developers or those of us who intend to develop something or erect something from scratch or something new. Take this into account so that you do not fall victim. Okay. Another reason why your building can be demolished is environmental hazards. And what does that mean? It means if your property is affecting the environment and its surroundings. You build a house, it extends into the canal. When rain falls, the canal overflows because of your own development. That is a hazard. Hello. You build a property, your property's drainage is pouring into the street, and all the waste and everything is coming out into the street. That is a hazard. Whatever issues that arise because of the presence of your development is a hazard. The agencies will come, inspect, and definitely pull the building down. Look at what happened in Ikota, for instance. The houses or the estates extended into the waterways because they wanted more space and they wanted more profit, not knowing that the state government would take it seriously one day. Lo and behold, all the people who bought in that section of the filling are victims today. Both the developer and the customers or subscribers, all of them have suffered from the hands of demolition. I advise people, when you want to buy a property, buy from an estate, but go with a surveyor. Let the surveyor help you check the boundaries of the estate, the boundaries of your own plot or the property where they are showing you or what is being offered to you. That way you are safe. Okay? And don't just go with any surveyor. Go with someone who knows what he's doing, who knows their onions. Environmental hazards could be another reason. There are people whose property is in a residential place, but they are using it for, say, production of pharmaceuticals or even poultry. And the smell and the stench from the poultry is disturbing everybody there. Do you know that your building can be pulled down because of noise pollution? All it takes is for people to send a petition and they will seal that building. It's a residential place and you're using it for church, and the church is disturbing the whole neighborhood, or a mosque or a nightclub or something, and is disturbing everybody around. The authorities will come and shut it down, and there is a tendency, depending on the severity of the offense, they could actually pull it down. Let's be guided and let's be careful. All right. I don't have anything against any religious institution. All right. I'm just saying based on what the policy says. Why could a building be pulled down? Because of the revocation of land title. Now, there are reasons why a title can be revoked. One of such is the fact that the land has been on ground for too long, obviously, and it has not been used. But that doesn't affect you, because if they've not used the land, then there is no improvement. It's only going to be revoked and there's no demolition. But in the case that you've developed, why would the government revoke your land title if you are using it for the wrong use? You know, there are zoning laws. If your land use contravenes zoning laws, this government has every right to revoke it. It's supposed to be residential. You're using it for a commercial purpose. They will revoke the title. It's supposed to be within the industrial scheme. Now you're bringing your development to a residential scheme. They can revoke your title, because that is the reason you are using it for. It's not the reason which it was allotted or granted to you in the first place. And if the government revokes your title, it can decide to do what it wants to do with the land and say, okay, we don't want whatever structure is here again, and they pull it down. I have to take my time to explain this and give you proper knowledge. Okay? Now, these are 5 reasons why your property can be demolished. Okay? So, what are the remedies? How can we escape this? Because the truth is, every time demolition occurs, money is being lost, either from the demolitions angle or the demolitions angle. Either way, money is being lost. All right? So, how can we avoid this? The first thing everybody will tell you, and I'm saying it again here, do your due diligence. The agent can sell you, can offer you a property, or the developer, but it is your responsibility, caveat emptor, to find out properly if that land is good to go or not. So get your surveyor to help you check the coordinates and check the boundaries of that land and check if that land is actually where they say it is and has been registered with the state government. Get a skilled property lawyer or estate surveyor to help you find out about the documentation and the title of that land. Because here is another thing I left out. It's not only the government at times that can have the authority to demolish. When you encroach on another person's land, that person, if they have the proper rights and documentation, have the authority and rights backed by the government to clear out whatever thing you've put on their land. Be advised and be guided. Not all demolitions you see in Lagos State are from the government. Some are issues of encroachment on another person's land. And the real owner now comes and says, I want my thing back. And then they begin to bulldoze everything off. You want to do your due diligence, conduct it properly. It can take weeks, it can take months, it can take a day, it can take 2 days, depending on what it is you are trying to ascertain and find out. But make sure you do proper due diligence. Another thing you could do, all right, to avoid having this issue of demolition is to abide by building regulations and building codes. Whatever the standard says it is, don't try to cut corners. Many of us, if you just go to, say, Festac now, go to some places inside Bagada, the places like Okealo and some places, you see houses, duplexes caving in, bending to the left or bending to the right. All right? It's because certain standards were not adhered to. There's a law that says if you are building in certain swampy areas, you have to use pile foundation, not raft foundations. There are certain things that you have to do, and you must do them so that the government won't come and tear down your property tomorrow. Ensure you adhere to whatever the codes are and the standards are. This will save you a lot. Get the relevant permits, authorizations, and paperwork that you need to back you up for whatever it is you're doing. This will save you a lot of stress. Another way you can also avoid this is you have to constantly conduct regular inspections and maintenance. If you find out something is not proper with your property or is going to be leading to a hazard somewhere, quickly fix it. Constantly inspect your property. Hope this thing is not shooting here. Hope it has not encroached into the road. I hope you have to constantly inspect. Hope this building that they are building, the roof is not shooting beyond where it's supposed to shoot. Do you get where I'm going now? You have to do your due diligence. You have to adhere by building regulations and codes. And then you have to conduct regular inspections and maintenance. If you have a pipe or a pipe that burst and is constantly leaking water into the street, you need to fix it on time before the government comes to fix it for you. All right? So these are some ways you can actually avoid, or with which you could avoid having your property demolished. All right? I want to believe if you conduct proper due diligence, you will not have any reason to buy a property that is going to be demolished in the first place. Now, there are those of us whose properties have already been marked or are at risk of being demolished. What is the way forward for us? And remember, I said there could still be hope for you. Now, before I start dishing out what are the things or what the things are that you could do, you need to ensure, and this is a background, that you are not in any way contravening any law. What does that mean? You are not breaking any law in any way. Your property's existence is not affecting or is not breaking any law in any way. It's not shooting into the road. It's not shooting into the waterway. It's not exceeding its boundary. It is where it's supposed to be. It is not going to a residential place instead of being a commercial place, and so on and so forth. And if at all there is any shooting or any changes in those things, do you have the requisite or the relevant or the proper paperwork to back you up? Because obviously when use has changed, you need to go and get a new approval. Or when something has shot to one particular place, you need the paperwork to cover you or to exempt you from such. I saw a demolition exercise that happened somewhere in Shongotedo recently. I was there, I witnessed it. But I saw one particular house in the midst of over 200 houses that were pulled down. One house stood, and on the fence of that house, every kind of approval you can think of, from planning to building to even the lawman number, everything was written boldly on the fence. So that even when the government officials came, they just had to pass because they knew this person has done his due diligence and has his proper backings to stay where he was staying. So right now, the house is the only house sitting in the midst of a whole lot of wreckage. For us to go ahead with those remedies, it means you are free from all these things, because truthfully, not everybody whose property is demolished warrants it. There are some of us who our property have been marked or are at risk, but it really doesn't warrant such. But we don't know how to go about it. We don't know what to do. So I'm about to tell you the remedies. The first remedy is you have to verify the legality or the validity of that notice. If somebody gives you, because the government won't just wake up and start demolishing a property, they will have given you a notice. You have to be sure that it's a valid notice. There are times that some people just work with a notice that is not valid. There are certain things you will check. Is it even expired or whatever? Just be sure that it's a valid notice coming from the direct office where they claim it's coming from. Not that somebody at home just printed a paper and decided to use it as an avenue to cause chaos. If you are able to prove that that order or that notice is invalid, then you have a case in court against them. Right? That is the first thing. Check the validity of the notice. The second thing I will say is engage the services of an expert lawyer. Now, some of us have friends that are lawyers, but because you know lawyers doesn't mean they are experts lawyers. And when I say expert lawyers, they are skilled in these matters of urban development. Not every lawyer is. Some lawyers charge and bill. Some lawyers is criminal. You need a lawyer that is skilled in urban development. You get such, engage them, seek counsel from them, and follow their lead. They might know one or two loopholes that can help you out of your situation. Okay? So that is another one. So I've told you two now. All right? Check the validity of the notice and then get a skilled and expert lawyer. Number 3, you could also negotiate with the authorities. There are some times that the government can be lenient and they will give you terms. And then if you fulfill those terms, they leave your property. And if you don't fulfill the terms, then the property still comes down. So you should try to see if it's something that can still be negotiated. And then if there is something else that can be done in lieu of the contravention that they are charging you for or penalizing you for. So I give you an example. There was a time that the Lagos state government, within the whole Shango-Tedo axis, gave the landlords in that area 1 year for those who were lacking building permits and what have you. So they were given 1 year. Some landlords took advantage of that, and some still haven't taken advantage of that. And when the government began its exercise and was sealing houses, the landlords came out en masse, went to the government or went to the agency or the authorities, had a discussion with them, and I think they've been given another form of extension to be able to perfect their documents and do the needful. So it is possible to negotiate. All right. The question is, what buttons will you press to negotiate? Do you understand? But I believe it is still possible to negotiate. It may not just be a single individual. It might have to be the whole community. It might have to be the entire estate. But you guys have to find a way to negotiate. All right. I know it's sounding easier said than done, but there has to be a way to negotiate. You could also obtain a court injunction. So this is what that usually does, and this is how many corporate bodies fight their own fight. They obtain a court injunction, and the whole proceedings come to a halt until a verdict or a judgment has been rendered. So you find out that a property that was supposed to be demolished now, all of a sudden has to stop until there is a judgment that says you can go ahead to demolish it, or a judgment that says, in fact, pack your things and leave the site and do not even go near that property. Do you get what I'm saying now? So you could also obtain a court injunction. The only thing about getting a court injunction is you must be free of all blemish. In other words, you must not be at fault in any way. You must have your facts. All right. I just had to state that. For somebody who will start running around now looking for how to get his court injunction and all that, and then you find out that it didn't work, and then you start saying Lakon said this or Lakon said that. Lakon said it, yes, but he said be free of all blemish and problems. The final one, which is the one that most Nigerians are accustomed to, is using media and then the public attention, basically. So you see people going to the news outlets, going on social media, clamoring and causing that noise so that everybody is aware and people can come to their aid and to their rescue. And the government also can also see and hear their cry. So these are some remedies. Now, here's the thing, and I quickly need to say this. Sometimes we feel it doesn't work, but many a times it does work. Okay? Because the government also is not deaf. So worst case scenario, even if the property must come down, the government will have to give extension of time and just to find a way to make it work. All right. So it does work at times. I know you watching me can be feeling that, but this still doesn't solve my problem. And it's not, you are not fully convinced or inspired. So I'm going to give you an example. When the government wanted to move Computer Village from Ikeja on the grounds of urban renewal and zoning, what happened? The traders there and the people there took the matter up and said it was going to affect their livelihood and it was going to affect a lot of assets and investments. And there was a whole back and forth. And right now, Computer Village is still there. At least for now. We don't know what will happen in the next 10 years or the next 5 years, but for now, it's still there. So these things can still work. All you have to do is know which one to do or which remedy to use for your peculiar situation. Once again, I've given you advices, I've given you information, I've given you nuggets. The rest are up to you to decide what to do and what not to do. Now, if you like the content you've heard and this has really given you insight and given you value, kindly subscribe to my channel, share this video with your friends, and like it as well. Thank you for now, and goodbye.